towards all of us women and the work that we do. And I thank you for that, Andrew, from the bottom of my heart. And for those of you who do not know Andrew, I'm going to read a tiny short bio because this man is such an accomplished, prolific writer. Andrew Harvey is an internationally acclaimed writer, poet, translator, and mystical teacher. He is the author of over 40 books, and I am so blessed to have been with him on the journey of many of those masterpieces that he's written, including Son of Man, The Hope, Love is Everything, Turn Me to Gold, and Golden Minute, and Radical Regeneration with Carolyn Baker. He has taught all over the world, given over 20 courses for the Shift Network, and he is the founder of the Institute for Sacred Activism, a place that has helped mold me and guide me into the activist, rescuer, 501c3 woman that I am, and has helped thousands of people worldwide step into their true calling. Andrew, thank you for being with me here tonight and all of us. Thank you.
Bless you, Jill. Thank you, Jill. Thank all of you for supporting Jill's heroic Moon Dog Farm, which is dearest of all things to my heart, and a very deep part of my private sacred activism, which is dedicated completely to animals. I thought I'd give you a 4-hour speech about the terrible things that are happening in the world, but I decided not to, because this is a festive occasion, this is a party, and I want to celebrate the glory of animals with you. So I thought I'd read from my book, Saving Animals from Ourselves, which I wrote with Carolyn Baker. And it is a book in which we explore both what's happening to animals and all its atrocity, but also the potential solution to that terrible situation, which in our view is recovering our own divine nature, our own divine animal, so that we can relate at the deepest level to the animals around us and come into the great feast that the Mother Father has provided for us, and learn through that recovery of our divine animal that we live in a divine creation that's offering us help and support and encouragement and inspiration and passionate delight at all moments. For me, it's essential that we recover this relationship with the creation, because when we do, we find in ourselves the energy to rise to do everything we possibly can to protect our glorious world and all of our brothers and sisters that live inside it. My connection to the sacredness of animals comes through cats. And I want to begin by reading a passage in which this connection truly began in its most divine perspective, and then tell you a story about Rumi. Here is the passage about my first cat, the cat that began it all, the cat that's responsible for everything wonderful in my relationship with this world, called Purple. As the divine light of consciousness works on and clarifies and purifies all your physical senses and divinizes them, the essential glory and beauty of nature will become clearer and clearer, more and more astounding, and more revelatory of the glory and beauty of the divine that is everywhere appearing in and as all things and all beings in nature. The mountain reveals itself as divine stability. The waves of the sea as the always flowing divine power. The tiger as divine strength. The anemone as divine delicacy. One of the greatest and most reassuring mystical experiences of my life was seeing my cat Purple blazing softly in divine light at the top of the stairs, licking her paws. From the first moment I saw this beautiful tabby sitting resignedly at the back of a cage in the pond, my heart contracted in love for her. That love grew and grew in the weeks and months that followed. I never knew that I could feel so unconditional a tenderness for any creature. I experienced each moment with her as a direct, almost deranging blessing that I began to know was taking me deeper and deeper into the sacred heart of the Father-Mother. It was as if she were the worm on the hook of divine love, and that divine love, using her as bait, was drawing me into an ever deeper realization of the holiness of all things. Because I loved my cat so much, so suddenly, every animal I saw in the street or on television, even animals that I'd before disliked or been afraid of, such as cockroaches, boa constrictors, and alligators, all became not only startlingly beautiful, but also profoundly touching. I had known for years about the horrible ways in which we treat animals in slaughterhouses, cosmetic factories, vivisection institute. I had also known many of the facts about the extermination of animal species that our environmental holocaust is causing. Loving my cat more and more made all of these forms of knowledge suddenly inescapably real. Every time I saw an abused animal, I saw the face of my cat in pain. Every time I read of the disappearance of a species of fish or insect or bird, I saw her face being wiped out by darkness. I realized that the divine had given me my cat to open my heart finally to the living horror of what we are doing to animals and the natural world. At first, the immediacy of such naked knowledge scared me. I believed that a great deal of mystical experience had already opened my heart. I was not prepared for this rending of another veil by love. But as I surrendered more and more, not only to loving Purple, but to loving all animals and things in nature, in her and through her, I found that I grew in heartbroken love for all things and beings, menaced now by the catastrophe human greed and blindness are engineering. And that from that heartbroken love came a more and more passionate desire to do everything in my power to help others awaken to what I was being shown. I remembered what an old Indian chief had told me years before in a conference in New York. When you allow yourself really to fall in love with the world, your whole being becomes full of a mother's passion to protect her children and a father's hunger to see them safe and strong. And the moment came when one evening, after I'd been down to the fridge to drink some milk, I came back up the stairs to our bedroom and saw my cat at the top of the stairs, surrounded by a nimbus of dazzling sweet diamond light. Every aspect of her seemed supernaturally precise in that dazzling light. Each whisker, the white under her chin, the shining of her eyes, the M mark on her forehead, all were utterly clear. It was as if I had never seen them before, never loved or adored or revered them enough. I realized that if I completely married my body, heart, soul, and mind together, I would see all things with this sacramental passion burning in the glory of God. And now for a story about Rumi that changed many things for me, because as you may know, I've spent 40 years translating, recreating, speaking about Rumi, because for me, Rumi is the great prophet of love, the universal prophet of love. And that knowledge of him, I arrogantly and stupidly thought was complete until I actually went in 2011 to Konya to celebrate the marriage day, which is his death day, but it's called the marriage day in Sufism when he meets and merges with his beloved. Celebrate that day by the tomb. By the tomb, there was this old Turkish woman, very beautiful, and carrying on and praying and laughing and crying just as I was. So after a while, I plucked up the courage to go and speak to her she spoke to me in her broken English, and I spoke to her in my infinitely broken, terribly bad Turkish. But something amazing happened and a great story was revealed. And I want to reveal it to you so that you can derive the kind of sacred inspiration that I have done. On the day of Rumi's death, December the 17th, the celebrated Sheb el Arus, his marriage day to the eternal beloved, Andrew at last plucked up his courage to speak to the old woman whose devotion had moved him. He asked, "Why do you love Rumi so?" She turned to him, smiled serenely, and said nothing. Then abruptly she spoke. "Do you know who lies with him in that tomb?" "How can anyone lie there with him? Islamic tradition does not permit anyone or anything to be buried with someone recognized as a saint." That was my Oxford tone. And she looked at Andrew ironically and gave a short, soft, mocking laugh. "Shows how little you know yet," she said. "Help me, then." For a while, the old woman said nothing and then turned again to him. "I will tell you a story that my great sheikh told me, peace be upon him. I believe you may be ready to hear it because you love Rumi. You have been blessed, for as you know by now, Rumi is humanity's supreme prophet, poet of love, the rose of glory of Islam. Yes, but also a rose whose perfume is for everyone." And she placed both her hands on her heart, as if to contain its passion from spilling out of her body. Rumi's whole being was a longing to know and experience love ever more deeply. Because love is infinite, the transformations in and through love are infinite. Rumi knew this, lives this still in unfolding realms of light upon light that have no end. He has blessed me by showing this, I who am just an ordinary lonely old woman nearing her end. That's why I'm not afraid of death, because as Rumi said, how can the lover ever die? She continued so softly that Andrew had to lean forward to hear her. Because his essential being was this longing to experience love ever more deeply, his work was always created from a living experience of love with another human being. Yes, I said, first there was Shams, then there was Zakubi, and then Husamuddin, the beautiful, throughout the glory of the Mathnavi. But there is a final secret you do not know, but which I will give to you this holiest of all days for the lovers of the beloved. May it expand your heart. Rumi's final and greatest love, his greatest beloved, was not a human being. Not Husamuddin, not even his son Sultan Valad, whose humility and wisdom made him sometimes weep with gratitude that he had such a son. It was a cat. A cat? Yes, a lovely black and brown female cat. She came into his life mysteriously when he was in his early 60s. He was trying to finish his Mathnavi. This female cat fell totally in love with him, and he fell totally in love with her. I believe, she said, that this was the last gift of the Prophet, peace be upon him, to Rumi. For the Prophet, as you know, had a particular tenderness for cats. Rumi and his cat were inseparable. She would sleep curled in the sleeve of his nightshirt, nestle and purr in his lap when he taught, curl around his feet when he ate. Hers was the first face he saw when he woke, the last face he saw when he fell asleep. My sheikh told me that Rumi loved this cat with an infinite love beyond words, beyond even the capacity of his God-kissed words to express. And that is why he never spoke of her and never even attempted to write a poem about her. My sheikh said it was his cat's love that finally took him into the mystery where all thought and language fall away into a silence of astounded wonder. After all his human beloveds who had given him so much and to whom he had given so much, came a cat who opened the last door into love for him, the final door into the room where he became, through their sober, blissful love, wholly alive in love, mind, heart, soul, and body. How can anyone explain this? Yet it is true. When Mevlana was leaving his body, his cat was with him, nestled against him. And at the moment our beloved, the beloved of the heart of the world itself, left, the cat stood up, gave a piercing scream, ran into the next room, hid, and was discovered stiff and dead the next day. How could she go on living when the source of her life had gone? How could she bear the loneliness of the brutal world without him? His cat followed him in adoration into eternity, where they are playing now around the throne of God with all the angels lost in rapture at their love. I have been shown this. I am not speaking of what I do not know. Then something wonderful happened. Rumi's daughter-in-law, who adored Mevlana, was the first to discover the dead cat under a chair covered with the green cloth. Green is the color of the heart, of the eternal springtime of the heart. She picked up the cat's body, cradled it like one of her own babies in her arms, and my sheikh said, heard the cat say in perfect aristocratic Persian, bury me with him. I belong to him forever, as he belongs to me forever. At first, Mevlana's daughter-in-law was afraid. Such a burial would be, as you said, against all Islamic custom. But then love gave her courage, and she insisted that Mevlana's cat should be buried with him. Asked why, she proclaimed, my father was a friend to all creation. And she paused a long time, tears streaming down her face, and then went on, and that is why, in this most magnificent and holy of all tombs, after that of the Prophet, peace be upon him, the supreme lover of the beloved lives forever with his hands folded forever over the body of his cat, pressing her to his heart. Neither of them could speak. Andrew knew he had been blessed and allowed the blessing to sink deep into his heart and into the cells of his body. At last, the old woman got to her feet and spoke. There is a message in this story, not only for you, but for all human beings in this terrible time when lovelessness is destroying everything. Let an animal love you, and let yourself love an animal wholly, with the whole heart, your whole mind clear of thoughts, your whole body alive with tender love. and just see what happens. What happens? I asked. You arrive here fully and forever, your whole being turned to gold. Wow. The old woman left, and Andrew remained, allowing everything he had learned about Rumi up to that moment to dissolve in wonder. And as he sat there, he remembered being told by a great Marian mystic that Mary had ended her days on earth living alone in a small hut in Ephesus, tending a few old donkeys, too old and broken down to work in the farms around. After being told this story, he had had a dream. He was walking up a dusty road in a sunburnt landscape and came to a field with old donkeys grazing on the few clumps of grass left unshriveled by the fierce sun. The door of the simple farmhouse in front of him opened slowly, and there, in a dirty, worn black dress, she stood, the mother of all of us, of all life, and her infinitely sad and gentle ancient eyes gazed across the field into his, and he heard her voice say softly, "Love animals with my love, and my love will be yours." What all of you are doing, you amazing communicators, and you, my beloved Jill, is far more than offering a marvelous service, far more even turning up in this tragic situation to tend the animals that are the victims, the horrifying victims of our greed and our madness. It's far more than that. And I really want to salute you. What you are helping to guide is a humanity that's lost this understanding of what animals can give us, back into the tender, whole-souled, wholehearted, whole-bodied connection with animals that not only will ensure that we create a world in which animals are safe and loved, but even more help us get to the next level of our evolution, which can only happen when we bless our animal nature and unite it with our soul nature and are born through that fusion into the next level of our evolutionary destiny, which is nothing less than to be embodied divine human beings on the earth, capable of co-creating with God a wholly new, harmonious, just, amazingly rich and festive and joyful world. That world is already here. And I believe that the tragic circumstances that we are all living through now, which seem so brutal and so utterly terrifying and so amazingly difficult not to see continuing until the extinction of the human race, are not at all the end of our experience, but in fact, the birth canal through which this new human being is being born. And in that birthing process, my dear friends, you are playing a huge and very important role, because you're reminding ourselves, all of us, that none of us can be born into that next dimension without expanding our love to embrace the whole creation with radical humility and awe and wonder. This is a contribution beyond words that you're making. I bow to you all and I thank you all. And I pray that you have the strength and the passion and the joy and the stamina and the peace and the courage and the trust to go on pouring yourself out, never doubting that the humble and loving work that you are doing has immense, immense resonances along the web of this great evolutionary transformation that we're in. So from the bottom of my heart to your heart, in the name of Purple, glittering in light at the top of the stairs, and in the name of Rumi's cat, lying in that tomb with his hands folded over her, pressing her to his breast, in the name of all of that and of the divine itself, I just wish Jill every possible success for her great adventure. And I wish all of you and all of you who are listening tremendous hope. Hope in the name of the animals. And I wish you too the experience, as I wish myself, that Rumi had of his late and greatest beloved, so that your animal can come into full flower with your divine truth to create a new embodied divine being out of you, capable of continuing to give everything away for the creation of a new humanity and a new world. Bless you, 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 bless you. And bless all the animals that all of you love, and bless all of us as we continue, in spite of all the madness, to say the great yes of sanity and adoration. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Thank you for speaking to all of us who are here, for the people that are also here that are in rescue alongside me, for a friend who's here who's an animal control officer, who sees the worst of the worst on a daily basis and has chosen it as her career, who gives everything she has. For Reverend Sarah, who's here, and a number of my cohort who are here for us being ordained as chaplains now. Thank you, Sarah. Big love. Marshall, for being part of that with us too. I feel such hope moving forward because there's so many more possibilities. And while there's plenty of work that we need to still do and we're doing, there's so much more hope than there was even a year ago for the growth in the way that we're all moving together to make change. And I think I say that it definitely does take a village to make this all happen. And I know all of us here are our own form of a village. So I'm grateful to be a part of it and connected with everybody here. So thank you. Thank you.
I'd love to hear just from two people. Sorry, darling. I'd love to hear from two people before I have to go. Just how what I said, what it evoked in you, what did you recognize from your own vast and deep experience in what I said? Because I'd love to hear that. Would anybody be brave enough to do that? Katie, how lovely to see your beautiful face again. Yes.
Love you, Andrew. So glad
I
to
love
see
you back. I love you back.
I'm gonna tear up as I say this, but it's been tough. You know, I've been writing about, it's the collective birthing, and and yet just I think day to day we're all feeling the
Oh God, yes.
yeah. So what you said though reminded me, because I think, you know, I'll personalize this, but I'm wondering if others have this experience of, there's a part of me that just is wondering, like, how am I to enjoy this life when, you know, in view and witness of all the suffering,
Seeing Gaza and the horrors and everything. Yes.
and then you know, and the animals and the ecosystems and the bugs, and like, that's not even, you know, is the real stories making the news? I don't know, but that stuff is definitely not making the news. Not that I need the news for it, but I guess my point is, you're reminding me, in speaking of Rumi and the joy and the love, that's the energetic aspect of the tipping point, not the,
Yes.
I mean, yeah. So I just thank
Well,
you.
and I hope I'm also reminding you that, look, we must react to the horror. We must allow ourselves to feel it, but we cannot let it paralyze us, because we're the ones who have to try and bring in the new world. And how can we do that if our being isn't grounded in peace and joy? You don't want a doctor to be hysterical at your sickbed side, saying, oh my God, oh my God. You want the doctor to be totally focused and totally devoted to you. And that's how we need to be. And to speak totally personally, what restores my joy, my courage, my stamina, my passion to keep pouring out is my love for my cat Jade, Purbal's successor, who I adore with my whole being and who adores me with her whole being. So I don't feel guilty when I lie on the bed in the afternoon, having just watched horrors on the TV with her, because I know that my energy to address those horrors will be renewed through our joy, our love. And I feel that's a tremendously important and very simple, but very, very potent clue for all of us at this moment. Keep turning to joy. Keep giving everything you have to create a new world. When you get depressed, when you get desolate, when you get exhausted, remember that if you're lucky enough to have an animal in your life, just renew yourself in the golden bath of that love and rise again to make good mischief.
You have reminded me exactly of that, Andrew, and I am so grateful to you, and also of Mother Mary at this time. And I feel a lot of stray cats. Yes, all her. And lately I've been just really loving my stray kitties. I have my own cats and I have these strays, and I'm just like, well, this is how I'm giving love right now. Like this is it. And I'm sure all of you.
The more hatred seems to win, the more we need to pour out love to the whole creation, so that love can give us the fire to keep doing its work.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, my darling. Thank you. I'd love to hear from someone else if that's possible.
Oh, that was so moving. So it reminded me of two things. One is my little halo here, which was named for Divine Aura.
The Divine Aura, halo.
And just how much love the animals have taught me. And once getting into animal communication, I was in Costa Rica, and the first night there was a big spider, which at first perceived as ugly. But I'm like, okay, bud, you stay over there, I'll stay over here. We're cool. And I did this for a couple days, and it's hanging out, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm an animal communicator. I'm like, he obviously wants to tell me something. So then I just opened my heart and I sat there, and all of a sudden this divine feminine energy flooded through me. And I was like, oh my gosh, of course you're a female. But I felt this sparkling diamond essence love just pour into my heart. And when you were speaking, it reminded me of that exact same moment. Your words had that quality. And
it's your heart that opened to that. Don't forget that. And keep that heart open, because we're going to need that diamond energy.
Oh, it was just this love that just flowed into every cell of my body from this little creature. And I knew I got the message because then she left.
That's such a
I can't believe it took me that. I was like, what am I doing?
Amazing. Thank you. One more, because I really want to hear from you. I'd love to before I have to go.
Karen. First of all, Andrew, thank you, because what you read was just so powerful. And I love Rumi, so much myself, although I don't know that much about Sufism, but I do love Rumi. And
Oh, darling, it's not knowledge,
yeah.
it's love, isn't it?
Yeah,
Don't worry
and
about
my favorite,
that's what we're for. You just
My-
fall in love and burn with love. That's everything.
and my favorite short poem of his is I just wanted to tell you because it's the moment I heard my first love story, I started looking for you, not knowing how blind that was. Lovers don't finally meet someday, they're in each other all along. And I equate that not only to my
Can
human
you say it again
counterparts.
so that everybody can hear it? Because it's so beautiful. Say it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to be bossy, but
Oh,
say
it's
it a little
okay.
softer.
Um,
I mean, say it a little slower so that we can really get how mad and wonderful that poem truly is. It's so amazing.
yeah. The moment I heard my first love story, I started looking for you, not knowing how blind that was. Lovers don't finally meet someday, they're in each other all along. And for me, that equates not to just to humans, but to animals. And I've had animals tell me that they come into being to awaken us. So we all have an awakening animal if we allow our hearts to feel that love.
I think this is a revolution, actually, that humanity has to go through because we've always had this vision of enlightened human beings, usually male, of course, just such horseshit. But because there've been, at least, I think, probably infinitely more awakened women than there have been guys. But anyway, that's how the patriarchal cookie is crumbled. But what we aren't facing and what we need to face is that we have enlightened masters as animals.
Yes.
Animals are in a state of grace, a state of illumination, a state of embodiment, a state of health, a state of integration, in many ways so far above us. And if only we have the humility and the courage of that humility to recognize that, animals are waiting to give us the secrets for the next level of our own divine process. Does that ring true to you as communicators?
Yeah.
And I think what you're doing is part of that revolution. And that's what thrills me about being here with you, is that you're part of this great revolution in human understanding. You see, one of the most amazing things that has happened in the last 40 years, everybody talks about quantum physics and how astounding the discoveries of quantum physics are. And they are astounding because they reveal a completely interconnected universe, which is miraculous on every level, just as the mystics have always known. And that is tremendous and wild and amazing. Hooray. But the other great advance that's happened in the last 40 years is that a series of absolutely intrepid scientists are discovering unbelievable new things about animal consciousness, which reveals to us that all of our fantasies about being superior and dominating and being given the creation to do with whatever we want are absolute fantasy, because octopi and whales and dolphins and cats and dogs have capacities for intelligent understanding beyond us in many ways, that if we can attune ourselves to in wonder and in humility, can also begin to inform us and help us expand our range. So there's an immense reversal of the fantasy of human superiority taking place through science itself. And this is thrilling. And what you're doing as animal communicators is opening up the full range of animals to heal us, not only in this life through our relationship with them, but in all the messages that you gave people from beyond this life, in the life beyond, to continue helping us, to continue empowering us, to continue healing us. This is amazing, and this is healing, and this is transforming, if only we can, and we must really open our being to this infinite possibility And the only way we can join this family, as you all know far better than I do, is by humbling up and opening up and loving abandonedly. And let's do it.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Let's
Thanks,
do it.
Andrew.
I love you, and
I
thank
love you too.
Bless
Thank
you
you,
all.
everybody. It is so great to be with all of you and so many of you that I know, and I know you personally, and you're all in my heart. And I couldn't do this work without you too.
Love you, Jill. So proud
Love
of you, my
too.
darling.
Thank you. Thank you for being a part of this with me. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night, Rowan.
Good night, all. Thank you.